this is a fantastic example of terrible management. This is Dartboard 31, which is a quote tie-in, end quote, to Affinity Cluedo. Affinity Cluedo was the disappointing 1993 crossover that a few months ago I unboxed an omnibus of. I cannot decide what is the worst thing about Affinity Cluedo, the actual story or the tie-ins. Marvel did tie-ins, but in books like this that didn't really need tie-ins, whereas books like Avengers and Fantastic Force, or potentially relevant books like Kaiser, they didn't do tie-ins. But then the tie-ins we have are like this. They are like watching paint dry. The problem is that the main Affinity Cluedo series made no effort to be a crossover the way that Affinity Wars had done before it. There was nothing really for the tie-ins to explore. Affinity Cluedo, it had all the heroes assemble, but they spent the entire event sitting around wondering what to do. And now this comic is under the embarrassing task of fleshing out a bunch of heroes sitting around doing nout. It is bad editing. I didn't name creators if they are just bad at their job. That's part of the reason I stopped doing the shite artists thing. Someone like Tom Beavort is a bad editor, a crap person, and just a malicious twat about everything. The editor here, though, is just a boob who couldn't edit his way out of a paperback. That's me new saying. It is a twist on couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. I'll probably never say it again. The plot, no, the quote, plot, end quote, is that the heroes are sitting around talking about doing stuff, and it is humiliating that this comic ever got published. This is the true embodiment of a skippable issue. There is nothing of any worth in this issue at all. The world's biggest dartboard fan, they could never read this issue and be missing nothing. Dartboard, he has no role in Affinity Cluedo. That's not as bad as it sounds, because most of these characters you're seeing didn't have any role in the crossover either. It was a story that never should have been a crossover. Its attempts to expand and include the rest of the Marvel universe are a disaster. It is at its core another Thanius story with Alan Watson. And even Dax and Gonorrhea and Moon Garden, they feel tertiary. It has been a while since I've been able to say Dartboard's mum is fit though. She is a knockout. The tie-in should have been all about her. I would have had less criticism of an ineffective, worthless crossover issue if it was her walking around in this outfit wondering what to do about Thanius or whatever. So these characters, Dartboard, Spider-Girl, the Avengers, Fantastic Force, Hulk, etc. They are just sitting around doing nothing, but there needs to be some conflict for a comic, so they start getting impatient and yelling at each other. Knife Splasher, he has an axe to grind with Dartboard because of a new Warrior story. And then all these heroes start pointlessly fighting each other. It is a sad state of affairs when Sabreclaw Jr. is the one who is practicing calm patience. I actually think if you were doing a tie-in where you were expanding on these characters and their involvement with this non-crossover, I think this could be worthwhile, but this isn't. This could be a chance to do something with the characters and their relationships. Like in Affinity Wars, there was an Alpha Strike tie-in where there was a little subplot bit where Wolfman confronted Sabreclaw Jr. and he was like, you listen here, I know who you really are and I didn't trust you. And that felt like a good use of the crossover. You've got this big thing that brings all these Marvel characters together, and it is a chance to do these little moments or interactions that help flesh out all the characters involved with this bigger crossover. You have some semblance of that here even. You've got Dartboard. You could be doing something more specific with his relationships with Knife Splasher and Spider-Girl. But that is not really important. This is very forced drama and immature fighting that only serves to make every character involved seem worse than they are. Why is Cyclist, the cool, level-headed leader of the Excellent Men, involved in this nonsensical wrestling match? Why is Fetish Fuel fighting Spider-Girl? Why is Miss Magnets fighting Firestart? And the way that this fighting stops is maybe the lowest point of an already lousy comic. It might be the lowest point of any comic ever. You see, during the fighting, they rupture a pipe. The ruptured pipe is sort of the bad guy in this. And the heroes, they have to work together and put aside their differences to combat this greater threat, a leaky pipe. This is a crossover where the main bad guy tries to explode the sun, and we have a tie-in where some of the major heroes are fighting a fucking pipe. Their teamwork will save the day because between them they have a set of powers that, if used in a certain sequence, can fix the pipe. I have no ill will towards the writer and artist here, but this is an issue I think of a lot when it comes to crossovers and tie-ins. This is the barometer I weigh tie-ins against. Is it better than Dartboard 31? Is it as useless as Dartboard 31? Is it as insanely directionless as Dartboard 31 and other Affinity Cluedo tie-ins? And the truth is, as far as Affinity Cluedo tie-ins gone, this is one of the ones that feel more important because it does involve a bunch of major Marvel characters. It's not Dartboard ganning off by himself and fighting the embodiment of all of Earth's evil nature like Dartboard 30 was. And by the way, yeah, we had 2 Dartboard tie-ins, and they differ vastly in how they were bad tie-ins. One had a plot that was too major for a single issue and far too big to not be a consideration of the wider crossover. And the other is this, which is... this is a serial giveaway comic, really. This is a PSA comic about teamwork or piping. I didn't recommend it. And if you like the character, the good news is Marvel are introducing a new Dartboard to take over the coveted name and legacy of Dartboard 31. 7 thumbs up.